I'm a little later. We're all a few pounds heavier, and unfortunately, I forgot my main prop. But we'll see if I can get it within 30 seconds because this is time. This is the place. Of course, it is Bubble Friday. That, of course, did not work at all. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne. You are tuned into Bubble Friday from a not so much undisclosed location, but different. In fact, it's literally down the hall from my actual office. I came in for to the job today because of space stuff, and I actually have some stuff to do work wise as well. So we are here as normal in my office or in the side room of my office celebrating Bubble Friday. So my office is much more darker, probably even less cavernous. So you're probably going to hear a whole bunch of echo going on. And of course, you see the mic in a shot today, which I actually kind of enjoy. So Bubble Friday is a Friday. Well, it is Friday. Bubble Friday is something that was created to sort of celebrate surviving the week. As at an old locational job where I had, we celebrated surviving the week by going out into the break area and outside the porch and blowing bubbles at each other and being silly, goofy, kid-like stuff for a while. And it is something that I've been sharing again. It's been a while since we had it at the original place, but something I've been sharing again, and it turned into a place where I can sort of ramble on and do a little bit of commentary because I don't have much time for that these days. And so that's what we're here. So the explanation for the bubble part, even though most of us are taking the day off or at least taking a slower approach to the day, and it is the day after American Thanksgiving. So what you do for Bubble Friday, you simply, I ask if you want to partake per this way, go to a dollar store, go to a Walmart, go to a department store, just go buy, take some dishwashing liquid and mix it up with some water if you have a wand at home, and blow some bubbles to blow off the steam of the week. Now, I had a lot of people ask me about was Bubble Friday happening and was it happening on Friday this week because of the shorter work week and Thanksgiving. I told folks that if there's anything people needed to make sure they survived first was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is always a pleasurable thing, with my family when we go to my mom's mom and dad's, and they have family from all over come together. But it is sort of an exhausting thing just to go get through the day in a sense, and then before it happens on Friday. So Bubble Friday must be on Friday. Although you can blow bubbles and celebrate surviving anything you feel like anytime you want to. Don't let me hold you back. But we needed some people who had to celebrate and survive their Thanksgivings. Thanksgiving was an interesting thing this year, mostly because of COVID-19 and restrictions going in many places. Right now, if you're watching this in the way future and we're beyond this, there have been many restrictions put on a lot of travelers across the nation because we're in the middle of a third spike in COVID cases. And what people were worried about is many people gathering in many large households or many large gatherings in smaller households, and of course breathing on each other, sharing their droplets, along with sharing the pie and sharing cranberry sauce. And of course that means someone who may be ill or not know it will end up infecting a lot of people, and within the next couple of weeks we'll see another surge, which is only going to make it worse because 4-ish weeks from now we get to Christmas and we'll be doing it again. And then a week after that, there's New Year's gatherings, and then we have kind of a long patch of nothing planned particularly. So a lot of people not normally isolated during the Thanksgiving holiday have been isolated this season. Now myself, I'm a military veteran, so for the years where I was active duty, most of those years I didn't actually go home to see my parents, and it wasn't for lack of trying. I think of the first year, one of the early years of that, I went home because my niece had just been born, so that was a big thing to go home for that. But it was one of those things where it's like, you see, probably saw a meme out there where it's like, people during the pandemic were being isolated, and the military people just kind of chilling because military folks are used to being at work, being on duty, making sure things are happening during times when most people are off, and it's just something that's there. So this year, my immediate family, that being my wife, my daughter, and my mother-in-law who lives in the house, they gathered with their part of the family, and they went down to what turned into a larger gathering than they thought, visiting a cousin down in New Orleans. So they're down there having a blast, and I stayed home, roasted a turkey in a crock pot, made a sandwich, and had a beer, watched some football, and did some stuff. Today I'm back at work. I got some work stuff to do, so that's basically here. But I wanted to set up a larger area, going too deep into what my day is. I'm going to go ahead and record my podcast for a weekly wrap up, and I wanted to do it with more space. So I'm going to set up a couple computers here in this space here, and so I can do that just like I do from the radio station. The radio station, I'm not working this week because everybody took off, so we pre-taped everything, so there's no reason for me to go to that station. So it's basically doing it in kind of freelance. So I'm trying some things. That's why I'm here, testing some things out to see how it works here. And this is going to be a little different sound. So if you listen to the weekly wrap up with Jay Cleveland Payne, I'm still going to release it tomorrow, probably earlier tomorrow, just because I've done now. But it's going to sound a little different because I'm sure this sounds different. I can't tell because I can't watch it while I'm doing this. So we did the bubbles. I did some mumbling. I'm here at my office because there is some actual computer work stuff that needs to be done that I thought I actually did early in the week, but I didn't. So I want to jump ahead on what's coming up next week. But in the title of the message today, which is rather rude, and if you read some of my stuff I've been writing lately at my website, you'll sort of go along with it. How it is kind of rude, but the title is basically and now. Shut up. And it's not so much about shutting up, but it really is about being quiet. And I just did something out there that hopefully would catch people's attention. But this is a time, and you might be at a place, maybe not because COVID-19, where you have gathered around people who are important to you. And because of that, because mostly you don't get a chance to be around those people so often, you want to make sure you get as much time as possible and talk to them as much as possible. And in order to talk to them and get more out of them, that means you need to keep your mouth shut. You need to be quiet and chill and relax and let things happen. Now, on a grander scale, you need to basically just kind of be quiet more often and take things in. But let's start with the people. The people around you. If you deem them important, then everything that is important to them should be important to you. Whether you truly even care about it or not, you should care about how much they care about it. That is why whenever I am doing literally anything at home and my daughter bounds in with whatever random thing that she wants to talk about at 8 years old, I stop. I listen to her for a few minutes. If I'm doing something that's relatively important, then I, shoo her off after a couple minutes of what's going on, a reminder that I'm needed to quiet. If I really need something that's definitely quiet, I will leave the house. I've known better than to do that. But my daughter basically has a right to interrupt me at pretty much any time at home because I set that up for that. My wife can interrupt me at any time, although she tends to, one, respect that I'm doing something, and two, just figure that I'm just going to kind of go weird on her and just complain about her interrupting. So she doesn't do it as much, but she does tend to walk in when it seems like I'm just staring into space and just start talking as well. So when she comes in, I will, turn the sound off what I'm doing and listen to her as well. She's very important in that sense as well. Now, where this really kind of comes to play is last Thanksgiving. Because last Thanksgiving, we spent time, the immediate family spent time at my parents' house because it was a lot of things are going on. My nephew was preparing to graduate from college last year, or graduate from high school last year. My niece just started college. She still lived at home. She literally was going 20 minutes up the road, but it was a whole different thing. And we had a lot of family members kind of gathering because I hadn't seen each other in a while, including my grandmother. And so one of my themes to try to overdo and overtake and just try to be Mr. Media guy was I sat in a room with my grandmother for a while and put on the video recorder and tried to record some of our family history because later in the year we would have, or beginning of 2020, she'd have her 70th birthday, and we'd had a big celebration for that. And so we're not necessarily to do anything for that celebration, but because 70 is a whole lot of time, and we're not promised tomorrow, and I can't guarantee that grandma's going to be there tomorrow. So anytime I get a chance to talk to her, spend time with her is precious. And I wanted to kind of get some of that family history gathered, and being the oldest, and as I say, the favorite grandchild, I was trying to take initiative on that. And so that was a time where I just sat there and literally just sat there and listened. I'd ask a question and just let her talk about stuff. And then if something didn't make sense, I'd just interject in bits and pieces, but I'd just let her talk. Because the most important thing about that conversation, that situation, was getting down the family history, getting down the stuff that we don't know. Now, being a person with my complexion, there's a lot of things that I don't know about deeper past histories. And that's just a situation that it is. And we can argue on that one on a later date. But essentially, folks that are African American, many African Americans can't necessarily, who are like literally like African American, like live in America all their life, cannot go back in generations and see where exactly they came from here in the United States, let alone, generations from the old country, whatever old country that we came from. And so learning about yourself and having someone who has that knowledge is something very important to do. So if you know someone that has a little bit of backstory, but has a bit of knowledge that you probably should be gathering onto, you need to shut up and listen. You need to take note of what's going on. You need to not interject yourself and how you feel and how you want things to go, and listen to how things probably were. Now, granted, a lot of the stories that we pass on, we find out that they are not exactly the way they are stated. As we always say, history is told by the winners of wars. History is told by the survivors, not the people who had to fight and did not make it through. We're having a big debate here in the United States right now about the Pilgrims and just how pilgrimash the Pilgrims were. And just like when we had the 1619 Project come out last year, that sort of gave a different perspective on how slavery actually began here in the New World, not quite United States. There's a come to Jesus moment right now about what's going on with the story of the Pilgrims and the first Thanksgiving. And a lot of people are stoking those fires because they're pro Pilgrims or pro the story, when we all know, yes, we all know, that the history told to us early in schools isn't exactly deep history. It's basic stuff so that you get the gist of what happened or where it happened. And then later on, you can learn about some of the deeper, darker details of everything. There's a deeper, darker detail to pretty much everything going on. You just have to be old enough and mature enough to understand it. And then, of course, old enough and mature enough to take it in. So there's all that. But the important part of this message is the fact that you really should, just be more quiet. I say be more still because it's essentially the same thing. But be more quiet. Listen to what's going on. Just see what's happening. Enjoy the moments. And if the moment's not so enjoyable, take in what's going on so you know how to do better. If you have family members who are near you often that you tend to ignore, start paying more attention to them. And the weird thing is, don't say, I'm going to shut up now, let you talk. Just when they're their normal, natural actions, just don't do all the the distracting stuff that happens. If you have someone, if you're sitting there normally playing video games and then someone sits there and just kind of talking to you, just hit pause and look at them. And, kind of ask questions as if you're listening so often. And don't do the, I am now paying you full attention. Just start paying them more attention. At first, they won't quite notice. And then they'll notice something's different. And then they'll just kind of go along with it and not know what exactly the thing is. That's sort of how it goes. It's a rare occasion where someone will notice that all of a sudden they're getting full undivided attention out of the blue. And it's just, they'll just kind of go with it. At some point in time, if you keep up the action, it becomes normalized and they have no idea what happened. But that's what you should do. Like I said, my daughter walks into the room. I pause the TV. I slide over my computer. I let her say whatever she's going to say. And sometimes it's as simple as, "Hey, Daddy, is my dress pretty? Hey, Daddy, do you like the way my hair's done? Hey, Daddy, check out what I did learning with Taylor." Taylor's one of her dolls. And in 30 seconds to a minute, the whole conversation is done for, I don't know, 20 minutes. So she wants to come on and bust something else out there. She is the most important thing to me, and her knowing that I will stop anything to listen to her is important. Now, as she gets older, and as she's learning more of how she is not quite enjoying when we stop what she's doing to have conversations with her, she will kind of learn to reciprocate, and then, at that point, I can actually get work done. By that time, she'll probably be moving out of the house, which, at that point, then I can get some work done. That's where I'm shooting for. For my wife, she may not notice, like I said, but I do more to make sure that I am listening to what she's saying. I'm stopping to let her talk when it's things that are important, and when it's something that's kind of slight, I'll stop, listen, and kind of nod my head and go with it from there. Not that the things that she says isn't as important as my daughter, because most of the things my daughter says literally aren't of any consequence. But the fact that our communication and sometimes lack thereof has been essentially where the contentions have been in what we have going on in our relationship and our marriage. And they're kind of two things. Marriage is, the contract with the state, and our relationship is what we do day to day. So it's really important that I am listening and I am not talking as much and letting her do the stuff. And she does notice when I allow her to choose more things and kind of get sort of forceful when she's, trying to be fair and stuff. But essentially, it's just a matter of being quiet, shutting up, letting her talk, letting her say what she needs to say, letting her vent if she needs to vent, letting her be cheery and goofy if she wants to be cheery and goofy, and going with that. For a more of a relationship, if you're talking about something for personal development or professional development at work, if you have coworkers who not so much are gossiping, but are basically kind of talking about their lives, talking about what's going on at work, having things, having conversations, join in the conversations. And that's something that I don't do very well. And I've never actually done it very well, unless it was a situation where it was a talking shop type thing. But I'm in a totally different scenario now, where I'm dealing with life and education, as opposed to when I was in life and broadcasting, where everybody was on a deadline. So you were having many conversations on things all the time, and they weren't, and you slip in sort of personal things just in the conversation midst. And more or less same for the military. When you're in the military, you are the guy or gal who is making sure the other guy or gal can, have a life and get things done, as opposed to, a situation where you do it all by yourself, or you cannot do it all by yourself. So you get to know people in military standings, whether it's a wartime or a just peacetime dealings, how things are worked out. You get to know people pretty intimately, pretty quickly, and you get to shed the veneers of various different masks in the get-go. At some point in time, if you have some sort of bias or prejudice, it comes out, and it could be something as simple as you hate the other guy's football team, or it could be something as really, really sort of deep, as in you grew up hating those guys' skin colors. But that's a situation there where, you have those conversations, you learn things about people as it's going on. Where I am right now, you learn things from the random conversations, the bits and pieces, and kind of getting in there and letting people know stuff. And I'm really, really bad at doing that in small talk and random conversations, something that I need to work on. I'll say I'm going to work on it. We'll see how well that works out. But I need to work on, and it's not going to be very easy. It's not easy at all. But what I'm imploring for you to do, even though I didn't quite commit to it myself, is in relationships, which are either personal relationships, which should be really, really important, or professional relationships, where you need to know more about what's going on and more about a person and more about a situation. You need to be more quiet. And that means shut up. Shut up. Listen if you need to. Maybe shut up and observe and watch what's going on. Be still if you need to be still. one last thing on quiet and still is that sometimes it's not about conversations or not about learning stuff. It's literally about being in the moment. At this point in time, it's extremely quiet around the city, and it normally isn't, which is the weird thing it is. But with COVID-19 and restrictions on people being in places, and the way that stores have done Black Friday shopping, they've been doing it for a couple of years, but now it's been extremely focused on early cyber stuff and early stores so that people can get things early and be done with it. It's extremely quiet on the roadways. This is the first year, and it's extremely noticeable that right before Thanksgiving, the traffic not only did not increase by triple, but it seems to have been down. This is the first day after Thanksgiving where I could drive around my part of town because there's a bunch of big box stores around there that I can drive around the town without any issue whatsoever. There was no problem, no traffic. And driving through when people are normally scrambling in their Black Friday mode from store to store to store to make sure they hit as many of the stores as possible. And there are Black Friday things going on, but there have been so many things and so many people have been restricted, and some of them are not so great restrictions, not just for safety. Some people are trying to figure out how to feed themselves and pay their rent when all of these safeguards we have get taken away on January 1st. And maybe the next administration will find ways for new safeguards. We'll see how that goes. But sometimes you've just got to kind of sit back and hopefully, especially in the quiet, shut up and just relax and take it in. And if it's not so quiet, shut up and you may not have to be a chance to relax, but take note of what's going on. Understand how things are working. See what's going on and take it in. And even if you can't explain it, just document it in your mind. Maybe even document it for reels. Pull out your camera or write things down in your journal. What you need to do is speak a little less. I mean, people, two eyes, 2 ears, one mouth, notwithstanding. There will be many times when you're the person that needs to get out the information. People will be around you. They will stop talking. They will take it in from you, which will happen. Pardon me for that. But in many cases, if you are a person who is looking for improved personal development, improved learning, improving yourself constantly, and the day that you stop looking to improve is essentially the day you decide you're dying. You need to start observing what's going on around you. That means mouth shut, eyes open, ears focused, seeing what's happening, listening to what's happening, going from there. So hopefully that was a pretty good message for today. Had the message that I had last week that I skipped for talking about wills and because of the Chadwick Boseman story. And then I've just kind of blew that out of proportion. I have been doing a lot of stuff, a lot of writing, a lot of things going on. So a lot of these random thoughts are finding ways into other publications, if you will, including the podcast. And now I'm writing every day at the website, so you can check that out as well. So you can see a lot of those things popping up. It's not, unfortunately, there's no real rhyme or reason to the writing yet, or schedule to the writing yet. It's just sometime throughout the day it gets posted, and because sometimes I'll write a couple ahead of time, and sometimes I'll have to wait till the middle of the day when I can get my mind right and get an actual idea. So I would appreciate anybody. You can see at the bottom of the screen, jclevelandpayne.net is the main website. If you go /podcast, you should see the list of podcasts I have going on. Otherwise, just go to the main website. There's a button to click that expands for a menu. And if you just go to the main website, you will see the articles posted day by day by day. Right now, as I'm doing this live at 10:45 a.m. on Friday, the 27th November. Yesterday's is up for Thanksgiving. Today's, I actually wrote it while I was at breakfast this morning, so I've got to do some editing and post that sometime in the day. That's going to happen. So appreciate if you checked it out. I'm also going to today write and edit another thing I have going on, which I'm going to try to do with the weekly newsletter again which is yes another essay type thing, plus links to all the stuff I've done this week if you missed it. So if you have not subscribed to that one, that's gonna be my big ask for the day. Check out that, and I don't have it in a scroll or anything, but just go to jclevelandpayne.net, and if you're there more than 10 seconds, it'll ask you to subscribe to the newsletter. Do that, and we'll take care of that, and then let me know how that goes. The most important thing about today is that I am thankful for a bunch of things, and I'm thankful that you took the time to pop in to see this thing. A few people popped in live. I saw the numbers go in there, but anybody who's going to see this next couple days in the future, just leave me a comment on whatever platform you're on, so I know you were there, and I thank you for being there, of course. I hope I actually muted myself. Otherwise, you heard a lot of burps and coughs, and that'd be kind of rude. I don't need you to shut up for me to burp and cough. I need you to shut up me so I can talk and listen, and you can listen for that. But as I redo my train of thought and open up the bubbles again, yeah. So check out jclevelandpayne.net. Subscribe to my newsletter if you would. Read some of my daily articles. I may find a way to post those. I don't want to do that in the email, even though a lot of people do that for that I read, but I know it freaks people out. I only have so many subscribers, so until I'm really, really big time, I've got to be very, very, very judicial with your time. So it is Friday. There are bubbles being blown. If you want to, I'm sure you probably imbibed yesterday, you want to take down some extra bubbles that are, the beverage time, be my guest. Just make sure you are responsible and you're in a safe place. Just want to inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. And that's how you want to sort of mark your release for the stress of the week and probably the stress of Thanksgiving, especially if you actually prepared the meal. Because I did a mini thing for myself, and it still was work to make things happen just to make a turkey sandwich. It always is. But the big thing I need to congratulate you for, is for getting up. And if you watch this all the way, then wow, I'm impressed by that one. But if you're able to see this, whether live or in the future, that means at some point in time past the 27th of November in 2020, you woke up, your eyes opened, and you got out of bed. And you had the ability to not only wake up, be conscious, and get out of bed, but reach out for some sort of device, turn on a computer, hit a button, and watch a video of some dude in headphones and a bad beard in some very bad lighting, rambling on about shutting up. That means you got up, you had life, you had mental and physical abilities, and you have every single right to call this a blessing, because it is. And so since you were blessed with this day, whether it's today or in the future, that means you need to go out there and bless some other folks as best as possible. And maybe you're not in the biggest sense of cheerfulness for blessing, or maybe you are not exactly equipped right now for the best in offerings right now. I know there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of financial stuff right now. That's okay. It doesn't have to be major. Just go out there and give somebody a smile. Do your best out there. Just be present for someone. And like the message for the day is, be quiet. Let someone else talk for a bit. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, although I didn't put that in the first part, but that's who I am. And I am glad that you joined me for this unique bubble, much later Bubble Friday. We will keep doing these things as long as I have the power to do them. Yeah, as long as you guys keep giving responses. I keep getting good responses for these things, so thank you so much. If you have any critiques or anything that I should do better or stop doing altogether, let me know. I am something I'm going to write on in about a week or so in my writings is the fact that I am a lot more coachable and amenable to feedback than people think. And I think people don't think I am because of just the personality. They confuse gruffiness and personality and kind of the aloofness that's there with the fact that I don't technically care for what they think or what's going on. And I'll talk about that down the line later in words of some sort. In the meantime, I have rambled long enough for this Friday. I've got real work to do. I've got to record this podcast. I've got some shopping to do for the house. I promised I would clean some stuff up and do some honeydew maintenance while the family was gone. So I've got to go pick up a couple things for that. And I've still got to enjoy some extra quiet that I'm getting for the season. This is an oddly quiet time. And it's Friday the 27th, so I think the Iron Bowl is today. So I got to watch some Alabama-Auburn football if that happens. If I'm off, then it'll be tomorrow. We'll see. Thank you so much for joining me on this video, and let's try to do this again next week. Happy Bubble Friday.